What's going on, everybody? I'm Izri's Company here. Today with the newest Kaido Deck profile that I just took to locals yesterday. I ended up switching over from Kaido. I kind of wanted to take a break away from Red Green Law. I'm still in kind of a debate about what I want to play and what I like, and I thought I'd give Kaido another try. He's done a lot of success for me in the past, so I figured I'd update him a little bit, test him out at locals, and he did actually reasonably well. I ended up taking first. I went undefeated. My matchups were against first matchup was against Kid, and I was actually very surprised. I was expecting to lose that matchup, but the matchup was honestly pretty easy. You just kind of keep blowing up their board, and they can't really do anything about it. Um, Game two was against Red Green Law, and it was a much harder matchup. I got a little bit lucky with some of my life draws, which you'll see. I ended up hitting a who's who off life, but the opponent played it very well, just kept pressuring me, and I kind of had to pressure back. It was honestly one of the harder matchups. Game three was against Kaido, so it was a Kaido mirror match. I hit Onigashima first, and just was able to just bigger number him. And then the last round was actually also a Kaido mirror match, and it was honestly a very brutal event for me. He saw Onigashima very early. I did not, and he just had like every answer. Like I played out Babanuki, and then he activated um, Brachio Bomber, and then I had established a little bit of a board, and he dropped the 10 drop, and then I started to establish board again, and he dropped the 9. Like, it was honestly a slugfest. I had to do almost every play perfectly. Not to brag, but if I hadn't of, I think I honestly would have lost because he just had so much more like on field. I happened to just have every answer to his answers, and I just was able to beat him down with little stuff. So anyway, let's get into the deck profile. So this is the newest edition. There's a lot more tweaks. We are only playing one Onigashima. No, you're kidding. You have to play four Onigashimas in this deck. If you don't see Onigashima, it's a hard time. This card makes the deck just able to play on easy mode. Um, if you're new to the Kaido scene, this is 9 times out of 10 what you're mulliganing for. I do play a couple of Onigashima lights that I'll get to that are new. The newest kind of change is I don't play any more Black Marias, which I might actually throw back in, but I still play the Haragashi. It's your 2K blocker. It's nice. I wanted to play some cards instead of the Black Maria, so I still needed my 2K, my low blockers, so these are still in here. I don't think I would ever drop these down. Next up, I don't know if this was in the last one, but I'm down to 3 Sasaki. And my other 3 Onigashima lights is I'm playing 3 of the starter deck Jack. So these are my, if I don't open up Onigashima, these are like my supplements for it. So Sasaki is still your 2K counter, so if you're not going to play him for the when attacking ability, there's that benefit. And Jack is just your, another card to ramp if you don't see it. I don't think I'd play Jack at 4. I kind of like him at 3. Again, I'd want to see Onigashima, but if I don't, it's nice to have a backup plan. This card, I might drop back down to 2. I was playing 3 Who's Who. Hitting it off life is good. My thought process behind playing this card was that aggro red feels very rampant, and I just wanted the ability to easily answer a Zoro without having to waste an attack, or even like take out a blocker. Like this card did a lot of work against red green Law because he would play like 3-4 blockers, and like Who's Who was just able to like take care of the blocker so that Kaido could swing into whatever it needed to. But I think honestly like a Brachio Bomber for like one of these guys, just so I can just Brachio Bomber whatever the problem card is probably a better option. Possibly even taking this out entirely. I'm not sure. I'm going to test some things out with replacing this card again with the 7-drop, the Cooler King, or a Brachio Bomber. So those are some things I have to try out. But right now I'm playing 3, and it's pretty reasonable. Next card, unironically, the MVP of last round at locals was Ulti. Ulti is your 2K counter, but coincidentally enough, after I got my Babanuki Brachio Bombered, I just had a couple of ultis. I knew I was not going to win the game against Kaido by just waiting because again, he just had every answer. So I was like, all right, okay, Ult C's going out on board, and I'm just gonna have to swing for like 5 and 7 every turn. I had, I think, 2 Thunder Baguas and 2 Blast Breaths. So against the 10k, like I had to expend like blockers and like those counters, but you got to do what you got to do. So, this was one of those cases where ulti is a 5k that happens to beat face for a pretty reasonable amount. Next up, first 5k, or for 5 cost, is Babanuki. He is just a thick boy. This deck kind of just wins by either resourcing your opponent's, value. So you want to just play big bodies that your opponent has to really struggle to deal with, or they just are going to take all that damage. Like Babanuki being a 7 power is just so good. And it's just like for this deck, turn 2, you're going to play, if you can play Onigashima, you do that. I feel like for the most part, it's just lead or chip damage for 5 every turn, and then just playing a bigger and bigger guy that your opponent has to figure out how to deal with. And so Babanuki really fits that like middle ground area. If you're not playing Babanuki, you're very likely playing Queen. So you play 4 queens still. This card is never going to less. I'm not even going to spend that much time on it. It's literally just draw 2, discard 1. It just cycles itself. It searches you out cards. Anything dead in your hand is now being useful. We still play 4 of the X-Drake. Again, I think the most balanced card in this deck. I have not seen any list playing things less than 4. If I have, they're either playing, 4-0, but it's a 2k counter, and it just has the ability to rip cards out of your opponent's hand. I think this card is nice. It's very good early game when you need to counter. It's very good late game when you need to take even more resources out of your opponent's hand. I am playing 4 King, the 6 cost. So I'm paying 4 King. He's so good. Honestly, I thought he was mediocre just because, only being able to KO 4 costs. But as I've been playing this more and more, like, seeing a king and, like, no Onigashima is still kind of fine. Like, yeah, you have to, like, spend a turn or 2 more to, like, you got to wait a turn more than you would have to play king, like, quote-unquote on curve. But, like, when you play king, it just feels so good. Just KOing one of your opponent's characters and then having a 7 power on board that your opponent is like just has to fear constantly. It's just like it's so nice. And then we play 1 cooler king. This guy might go back up to 2. I still don't know whether or not I like it at 2 or 1. The problem is that it just doesn't have counter, but like the ability to just KO 2 of your opponent's characters is reasonable. I haven't seen a lot of decks find a good way to play around this because, for example, Law is always going to play big things or a lot of things out. Zoro is always going to have usually like a blocker and a Zoro on board. So this card's just usually always getting value. I'm going to probably try him at 2 with a Brachio Bomber for a Who's Who. Next up, I've dropped this down from 4 to 3, and now he is at 2. I'm only playing 2 of the 9-drop Kaidos. I like this at 2, but honestly, it's like I want to play it at 3. The fun part about this deck and like the part that you play this deck is just like big bodies that pop things and just go big, just big numbers. So I probably will try bring this guy up to 3 after I figure out some ratio issues, but right now I'm playing him at 2. So I did not see him at all during the last game. Oh, that was the other sad part is I didn't see Onigashima, so there was no Onigashima, and then literally it was just like ultis and who's and Sasaki's. It was just all of my low mid stuff and just no big guys. Even after all 5 life, just nothing. And then lastly, we're playing 3 of the 10 drops. I like this at 3. I think this card is useful in almost every situation except the situation where you're going to lose, instead of it. Because again, if you haven't seen any of my profiles before or you're new to Kaido, the 10 drop is good if you have a stable board or are ahead or are behind, but it's not good if you're going to lose. Like the only thing this card doesn't do that the 9 drop does if your opponent has no life or you're able to like swing with 5, like this is able to pop something and swing for game. This is just able to stabilize you, and I mean, that's the only situation the 9 drop is better is where you're able to swing with the rush for game. every other situation, this card just does a better job than the 9 drop. So that's why I'm currently still playing, or I'm playing 3. I don't think I'd go up to 4 because that feels too bricky. I do still like the 9 drop because the ability to just play it and beat over anything that's, a problem. It's just like that's still good. This guy might probably go up to 3, so I'm going to play 6 of the heavy ends total. For the event cards, I'm playing 3 Thunder Bagawas. One of these is 100% going to get swapped out for a Brachio Bomber. I didn't have time to switch it up before locals, but I think honestly Brachio Bomber is a little bit better than just one Thunder Bagawa. They both have the same trigger, so even if I draw it from life, I can still use it for its ability. But just having the option with Thunder Bagawa, or not Thunder Bagawa, but Brachio Bomber, if I see it from life or if I draw it off Queen, just the ability to just pop a 6 cost is very vital without having to, do the 9 drop Kaido. So probably going to swap one of these for a Brachio Bomber. And then the last event we're playing and the last card in the deck we're still playing for Blast Sprouts. I have not found a reason to play less than this. It's, it's a 1 cost -1, but the -1 is irrelevant. Even in like earlier stages of the game, like it really just kind of mitigates a lot of the damage you would take for not a lot of resources. The only comparable card to this is Guard Point, which I was playing in my red-green law deck, and I still like it. But honestly, like I said, this at 4 kind of needs to happen. And that's it for the deck profile. Let me know what you guys think. I know my 3 drops are kind of some interesting ratios. I'm still trying to figure out what to play, what I like, what's working well. So let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.